everybody. Really? Okay,
Yeah.
obviously we're going to be having one of those nights. We're trying to reconnect already. So, welcome to Badass Mining Company. I am Redacted, and this is my co-host, Redacted. So, that's kind of an insider joke today.
Yeah, we're blank.
I have been in meetings
We're
all
blanking
day,
everything out.
in video conferencing all day long. I have read literally hundreds of pages of redacted material today. My eyes hurt from the crossed out writing. It was too much. But anyway, I digress.
You know, and I actually slept all day. Literally.
Oh, good
I must have
job.
needed it.
Good for you. Good job.
I didn't go outside. I didn't do anything. I just laid down and went, I'm going to sleep. And I did.
Well,
Wow.
that sounds like a really
So,
good plan. Good, healthy plan, eh?
I guess, eh?
Okay, so anyway,
So,
I've
we have else.
like I said, I have been doing some homework. It hasn't just been on my other projects. I have done a lot of research on the financials so that I can give you guys some good indicators on if you have any money to invest. This is going to be one of those opportunities that you wish that you would have jumped on while you had the chance, because right now the speculators are all like a bunch of friggin' vultures and hyenas waiting for this stuff to happen. So they cannot wait for this thing to bottom out, because I'll get into that right after we do the precious metal. Alrighty, so gold has not changed. Obviously, markets closed on Friday night, so it is the same as yesterday. Gold is at $1,530.90 an ounce. Silver is going for $14.78 an ounce, and the metal, of which I will not say its name,
Platinum.
is going for $770 an ounce. And here is what is going on, because I read a bunch of reports that contradicted each other, and they were a bunch of economists and market speculators, and they're all confused. You would not believe how confused they are of what is happening right now. But during one of my meetings today, we started bouncing a couple ideas back and forth, and I came to the conclusion that the only reason why precious metals are dropping right now is because they're propping up the currencies of the world economies. So right now, basically what they're trying to do is make sure that these currencies aren't like losing a buttload of money, like the dollar isn't devaluing to where it crashes the economy. So they're leaving all these investments alone, since the stock market is plummeting. And I don't care what they say, all this, oh, it's going back up. They put in the stops. There are artificial things that are pumping up the market right now. Don't trust it. It's going to go back down. Trust me. So what you want to do is, if you have enough money, to get in there and research out which gold mines just a month ago released a whole bunch of data that says they hit new pockets. As soon as this thing bottoms out, that would be the time to buy those stocks, because not only do they have the new deposits that are going to make the stocks go up, but the fact that when this all recovers, gold is going through the frigging roof. So that's going to double those stock increases. So that's that much more. So you're welcome. You need to go check those out. I am. I do not gamble at all. I don't believe in playing the stock market, but I am going to jump in there for a minute, and I am going to at least try to double my money. So that would be what I would do if I were you. So anyway, that was the financials, guys. I hope that helped a little bit. Try to figure this out. Oh, one other thing that I did want to discuss just for a minute here is, I might as well turn that on. There we go. Okay, so they are talking about a possible bank holiday. Now, what this means is when they close the banks down to do whatever to their systems, they've got 3 different excuses right now why they want to have a bank holiday worldwide, but we know it's to it's because of the quarantine. That's all this has to do with. This could happen within the next week. It could happen within the next month, but they said it probably will happen. So if I were you, I would have a few bucks in my pocket, cash, just in case, because you don't want to get stuck with your pants down. If the ATMs can't access, or you can't go to your bank branch or anything else, you're kind of screwed. So just put a few bucks in your wallet for emergencies. Really good idea. So, and the price of gas should be going down here real soon. A lot of things going on. Russia pretty much gave the world the finger as far as how much they would throttle their production. So Saudi decided to step up their production to drive the prices down and pretty much screw everybody that's in the oil industry, which, hey, I'm down with. Screw those guys. So, anyway, that is the financials. I'm done. So, you got anything to add?
Do I have anything? No, I don't, because I didn't go out today. But I can tell you this, that I live off I-5, and it's not quiet, but it's not anywhere near as noisy as what it was. So,
well, that's nice.
it's well, that's good, because then it means that people are listening and they're staying home unless they got to work, and you know, that's the best way to do it. I did look on Safeway to order to see if you could order toilet paper. Mind you guys, I don't need toilet paper. But I'm just trying to see what we can do and can't do. And apparently you can order. If you order online with Safeway, then Safeway will fill your order. So
yeah, they've been talking about that, and see, right now it's just like we were talking last night, and I'm not going to go into a full rant on this again. We're not going to be talking about the coronavirus tonight, except for just little blurbs, okay? This panic mode that the United States is in right now, guys, this ain't the end of it, okay? And the only reason why I know this for a fact is because we've been monitoring the rest of the world, and every time that you see a run on a product, it doesn't just stop in that country. It goes to the next country and the next country and the next country. So anything that you see other countries all of a sudden coming up with a shortage, you can bet that you're going to be seeing it in your neighborhood next. So, and I was talking to a kid in Tunisia today that he said it is just so bad there. For some reason, the people are just. I think they're almost trying to usher in the end because anybody that's come up positive is going around trying to infect everybody else. So there's some parts of the world to where it is just. It's horrible. It is really horrible. In the UK right now, I listened to a guy go on for almost 2.5 hours about how they're planning on locking up anybody over 70 for 14 weeks in a quarantine situation to protect them. It's there's a lot of knee-jerk reactions going on because of what's going on in Italy and what's going on in Iran and a lot of these countries that say, oh, it's not that bad, it's not that bad. And then all of a sudden we get video and pictures of, massive body dumps. And so
Well,
it's,
the thing about Italy, okay, and the Italians were determined that they weren't going to close their country off, and that's what happened. So they should have closed their country off.
well,
They should have.
see, you got to do what you got to do. And when they didn't jump on this thing right away, and that I'm going to have to just point the finger and lay the complete blame on China over this one, because if they would have acknowledged that this was going on 2 weeks prior to when they actually let this go out, they would have been able to stop a lot of the people that spread it throughout the world. But they didn't, and what are you going to do now? You just got to deal with the situation, be aware of what the nature of the illness is. And I think that's what we're doing. I think we're doing it pretty damn well. So, the mood that was in the meeting today was very bleak. There's a lot of things that popped up that says this is not going away for a long time. We're going to have to be dealing with this for quite a while. So, just strap on your roller skates and wear your helmet, guys. We're going for a ride. So, anyway, let's stop talking about this. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I've had it today. We went through all this yesterday. There is new information, but I don't think it's worth sharing right now. I'm going to have to look into a bunch of more stuff. The only thing I do have, I'm sorry, just one more thing on the subject, guys. We're trying to organize people to go through and check on your elderly neighbors and anybody that is medical high risk, because they're trying to avoid public right now, and they're not going to come to you. They're not going to come to other people. They're going to stay in their house. And if they run out of supplies, guess what that environment may end up being? So make sure to check on these people, because, there's a lot of people that are out there that are on their own and they have nobody else. So I highly recommend that you go out, check on these people, make sure they've got what they need, that they're fed, that they've got all the cleaning products and stuff that they need to get by, because those people, they have a lot higher mortality rate than what the rest of us do. So we are responsible for their care. Just as if it was happening to kids right now, we'd be jumping all over it and making sure the kids were safe. But right now, the kids are not in danger. It's all the elderly people. So we've got to make sure they're safe. So just organize, make sure your neighborhoods are all covered. We've got groups popping up worldwide right now to do the same thing. We're trying to take care of everyone. Just like I say at the end of the show, take care of yourselves and each other. That's kind of your responsibility, because we can't go, we're not friggin' Santa Claus. We can't go hit everybody's house. It has to be a group effort here. So I just encourage you to go out. I've got I've got the post on my page. I put it on Badass Mining page. It's up on anonymous boards across all over the place. Just please spread it around. Get people on board with this campaign because nobody else is going to friggin' do it. Nobody. It's our responsibility. It's our job. We have to do it. So get on board. Okay, now I'm done.
Okay. All right. Yes, please take care of us. I'm one of those that I'm elderly. But my thing is that I have a lot of people that live here in the park, and I really worry about them that are live in an RV, and we live in an RV park, and we do have some long-termers, and so I try to bring them bread whenever I can, and I worry about them. I do. So you guys just please take care of those of us who are in need. We would really appreciate it. Okay, I'm done.
Alrighty, so now we enter the segment that we call Same Day, Different Year, where we go through history for March 14th throughout history and find out what happened on this day in the past. And before...
I thought it was March 15th. Yesterday was the 14th.
Oh, see, you screwed me up. You screwed me up because I had 14th down twice. I was thinking... Okay, well, okay.
That's what I did
My
yesterday.
bad. She screwed me up so bad yesterday. I wrote down when I was doing my homework yesterday's date because I was like, I can't believe she did that. And then I wrote down yesterday's date. So I'm stuck in the past. She was stuck in the future. So now we're meeting in the middle. And I am now on Sunday, March 15th. Same day, different year. I'm not going to go through that again. Okay, before each show, we did not have to do this today. Before each show, we go through the dates to make sure that we don't have any doubles. That she doesn't have any of mine, I don't have any of hers. We didn't have to do that today because she thought yesterday was today. So, she had given me all of her dates yesterday for today, so it made my homework very easy. Very easy. So, as always, it's a ladies first rule.
Thank you. Okay. So, in 1956, My Fair Lady was the first time on Broadway.
I saw that.
And Julie Andrews was the one who played, what's her name? So, anyway, that's mine. You're next.
And that was My Fair Lady?
Yep, My Fair Lady.
Yeah, and to think if she wouldn't have got that, she probably wouldn't have landed Sound of Music.
Oh, I don't know. She's very talented, and she's still, she built them out.
That's true.
I was never into musicals, but to watch Julie Andrews was extraordinary. And my favorite, of course, will always be Mary Poppins. But My Fair Lady, like I said, was the first time that hit Broadway. Was in 1956, the state.
Cool. Alrighty, well, I'm going to go back a little bit further in that, back to 44 BC, when Roman Emperor Julius Caesar was assassinated by the high-ranking Roman senators, and that made this day known as the Ides of March.
We weren't supposed to say that, but okay, that's fine.
Well, that's where it came from. So I knew you were going to say it, but I just wanted to pop it in that's where it came from. So
He's getting back at me. Okay, so we ready for the next one?
Go.
Okay, Tsar Nicholas II was forced to abdicate See, I could say that word. He was forced to abdicate his position.
Yeah, but what did he do with the aluminum factories?
He turned him into what's that here sauce?
He restaffed it with abominable snowmen.
Yeah, and they all ate what's that here sauce.
Alrighty, so in 1493, Christopher Columbus returned to Spain because he forgot to turn off his iron. No, it was actually because the rest of the world was tired of his crap already, so he had to go back home. Which, oddly enough, that actually is more the truth than what they say the truth is. Okay.
So mine is in 1964. Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton got married for the very first time. Then 10 years later, they got a divorce. And then they got married again.
Yeah, that one was a weird one. Oh, it was compared.
No, to me, it was like, stick with your ex, then get rid of your ex, and stick with your ex, and get rid of your ex.
I always compared her with my second wife. She was into that getting married thing over and over and over again, but I digress.
Your turn.
Okay, in 1960, and I thought this one was extremely cool, the very first underwater park was established at Key Largo, as Key Largo Coral Reef Preserve. And yeah, that was extremely cool because they had never even had the concept of an underwater park before. So they were disappointed though when they opened up the dog park right by it. So they didn't have to clean up after their dogs though. That was the nice part. It was underwater.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, it's you.
Oh, I was going to say, I was going to go to the next one. You want me to go to the next one?
Well, yeah, considering that you have two more and I have two more. So, yeah, go to the next one.
Okay. So in 1966, sadly, a race riot broke out in Watts. If you don't know where Watts was, it's in LA.
Yep.
And I can remember when this happened because not only did it break out in Watts, but it also broke out in Phoenix, Arizona. And most people don't know that. So, because my dad was he was part of the National Guard and was called out. So, it was a very strenuous time. It was one of the reasons why we finally decided to move up to Alaska. Your turn.
Alrighty, and keeping with that nice note of history, 1991, 4 LAPD officers were indicted in the beating of Rodney King, which had occurred on March 3rd, 1991 in California, inspiring some of the biggest riots in the United States.
Yeah, that was horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't recommend ever being in the middle of a riot, especially in the middle of a big city like that. It's not as much fun as you would think. I was right in the middle of it.
Stuck in the middle of it.
Okay. Go.
Okay, so here's my last one. It's 1990. Mikhail Gorbachev, see, I said that right.
There you go.
Was the very first president of the Soviet Union.
Yay!
He was the guy with the birthmark on his head, if you don't know who he was.
Yep.
Most of the people here do, because people they have wisdom and they understand and they listen to news and whatnot.
And they know history.
For those that are our son's age, I mean, he doesn't even know who Alexander Graham Bell was. It's just, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was a little miffed when they
turn.
gave Gorbachev the Presidio over by San Francisco. That really irritated me, but oh well. Alrighty, in 19...
You wanted to get out.
Yeah, you wanted to get out of Russia. Okay, in 1968, and I am actually, for the first time, doing same day, different year, going to have an actual date that has something to do with what this channel's about. Yay! So, in 1968, the U.S. Mint halted the practice of buying and selling gold. So, in 1968, the U.S. Mint stopped selling and buying gold. And that is the end of Same Day, Different Year. Now 10 has a special birthday to talk about, along with some holidays.
I do.
So who do we got today?
Sly Stone, Mr. Sylvester Stone. You know who he is, don't you?
Adrian!
He was born today. Happy birthday, Sly. Your career has been everywhere. You have done everything. He has done all kinds of movies. He's done all kinds of stuff. He's went from being an A actor to a porno actor.
Yes,
None of you knew this? Yes, watch. Debbie Does Dishes.
Yeah, interesting career he's had.
Yes, it has been. You know, he started from nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. And he did such an incredible job. I don't like everything that he's ever done, but you know what? I give kudos to the guy. He's still doing his thing. And he did what he needed to do. So, but now we have the holidays. And I've only got 4 written down. Sean's already given one away, and that was the Ides of March. So, and we all know what that meant. So,
well, wait a minute. No, I didn't go in and explain it. I just said that's what brought it about.
Yeah, well, you know, there was a conflict between him and his upper management.
Senate.
And they stabbed him to death, including Brutus, who was his best friend.
You know, so, I have a sneaking suspicion that may have been the beginning of Nancy Pelosi's political career. And I bet she was there. And I bet she ripped up his speech and then was the first one to stab him. I bet that's what happened.
I don't put it past her. Okay, after what I saw her ripping up the speech, I was just like, no, I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm not somebody who's getting down on Trump. But he is our president, and you know, that was so disrespectful. I could not believe that she did that.
Well, you know what? I've done stupid stuff when I'm 3 sheets to the wind, too. So, you know, but she can't do it every time she's in front of the camera. She needs to put the bottle down, maybe sober up a little before she goes in front of the camera and does stupid stuff. Just like somebody else needs to put his phone down when it's bedtime and maybe turn off their Twitter account. But
yeah. Okay. So for those of you who don't know it, today in England is Red Nose Day. And I guess that's just a big deal where they just want comedy. So today is considered National Red Nose Day in England.
Wait a minute.
Also,
Red Nose Day, isn't that Isn't that like their alcoholism day?
I don't know.
Alcohol
It didn't
awareness?
say what it was. It just said that comedians got together and they made it Red Nose Day. And I was like, okay,
No,
I like
no.
that.
You know what that is? That's the same one that they have over here. They just must have it a different day. I bet it's like a fight.
Red Nose Day at Walgreens.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what
like
you're
a
talking
fight.
about, Red Nose at Walgreens.
Yeah, it's like a fight against cancer or something like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm on the same page.
Okay, so that's what. Okay, so this is a weird one, but okay. Today is National Everything You Think Is Wrong Day.
That would make a lot of sense.
It's what it is.
I bet that's why all my
okay.
meetings were today.
That's what?
That's why all my meetings were today.
It must be, because when I saw it, I was like, okay.
Well,
and last but not least, okay, you ready? Last but not least?
Last but not least.
It's Shoe the World Day.
Shoe the world.
Shoe the World Day.
Off your lawn?
So, I'm not really sure if it means that they're trying to put shoes on everybody in the world.
Or they're shooing them away.
Or they're shooing them away. I saw it SHOE and didn't see SHOO. So I was like, okay, so they want to put shoes on everybody's feet. I tried to look it up. There was nothing on there. All it said was Shoe the World Day, and I went, okay.
Huh. Yeah, because the Native Americans really appreciated that crap. Put your damn shoes on. But I don't like shoes. You can't be civilized unless you wear shoes. Okay.
And I was one of those kids growing up, because you have to remember, I'm Native, as white as I am. I'm Native. But anyway, I ran around barefooted in Arizona. It was just, that was the natural thing to do. I could have been a Blackfoot Indian. My feet were always black on the bottom.
I made my own moccasins for, I don't know, decade. Something like that.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
I would have much rather worn a nice, comfortable pair of moccasins that I made because I make them to fit me right. Nobody else does that. They make them to fit them right for some reason.
Probably because you got big feet, babe.
Yeah, that's true.
See, I grew up wearing what they called squaw boots, which are moccasins, but they're for girls.
Alaska hoochie boots.
Okay, we're done.
We're done.
I like our mucklucks in Alaska. They're comfortable.
Yeah, they are. I'll give you that. Okay.
They're comfortable, and if it's cold outside, they keep your toes toasty.
Toes toasty. Okay. So,
yeah, really.
We're gonna go ahead and talk about something that I've been trying to get talked about, but Tan can't open the article. And
no, I can't, because there are some apps on out there that my phone, which is a really good phone, but it screws it up every time I try to put the app in. And I've only came across two. One of them was for one of my credit cards. The other one is for that one. And so, unfortunately, I have to make phone calls to find out what I'm supposed to do with my credit card. And as of for the other one, I don't get any of the news that he gets. So I'm like, okay.
which is weird, because...
So go ahead, tell us the story.
They send me a whole bunch of cool stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm glad they do, because I don't get... I I get it. They send it to me, but then I get to read the first part of the article, and I get to go to the next part, and it says download the app, and I go, okay, it's done.
Well, see, and here's...
So tell us what you got.
Okay, well, this is from Offbeat, Oregon, and the headline is...
It's cool.
Legendary prospector's death sparked 2 lost mine legends. And basically, back in 1897, they found... Oh, I'll just read it. They found the grizzled prospector's body slumped over a sample of ore on the floor of the rude log cabin he'd been staying in deep in the wilderness of southern Oregon, late in the spring of 1897. He'd apparently dropped dead one evening while assaying out the samples he'd gathered that day, probably poisoned by some of the chemicals he was using. But this wasn't just any random gold prospector. This badly decomposed body was all that was mortal of the most famous prospector of the American West, and certainly one of the richest and most successful, Ed Schieffelin, the man who discovered and named the Tombstone Mine in Arizona. And by the time Ed's body was securely buried under a tall miner's cairn near Tombstone, the hills near that cabin were already alive with eager prospectors following up on the lost gold mine legends that sprang up following his death. At least one of those legends is still bringing hopeful prospectors out to the hills of southern Oregon today. Ed Schieffelin was born in 1847 back east in Tioga County, Pennsylvania. When he was 4 years old, Sorry, I get hung up on the way some things are written, and it almost looked like he was born when he was 4 years old. Sorry. It just struck me funny.
He's a grammar Nazi.
No, I'm not a grammar Nazi, but I just find the way things are put sometimes I find very comical. Okay.
When I talk.
When I talk, I crack myself up all the time. When he was 4 years old... Go ahead.
I said, yeah, he tries to get me to say words I can't say. You're funny.
That's because I'm constantly saying words that I can't say. I just make up words all the time. Anyway.
Okay.
So,
go on.
When he was 4 years old, his family pulled up stakes and went to California to join the gold rush. By the time they got there, though, all the action was up north in southern Oregon, so that's where the family ended up, settling near Jacksonville. So they probably knew the Applegates then, which is
probably
my family.
Had to.
My mom's side of my family. Ed spent most of his time looking for gold. He was one of 10 siblings. Holy crap. And sometimes his brothers got involved as well, but mostly it was just Ed at the age of 10 or 11 shouldering his pick and shovel and hiking off to the hills for the day, breaking off bits of quartz to look for threads of gold and washing up creek bed gravel with his gold pan. At 10 or 11, that's impressive.
Yeah, it is.
When he was 14...
But then when we went...
What's that?
But when we went to the gold show last year, there were a lot of kids in there. I mean, there weren't a ton, but there were a lot of kids in there, and they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, that's true.
That was impressive.
Yep. Let's see.
So go ahead.
When he was 14, gold was found on the Salmon River in Idaho. Ed ran away from home. He made it 60 miles before a member of the search party caught up with him and dragged him back home. 3 years after that, he tried to leave for Montana, but he was only 17, and again, his parents wouldn't hear of it. So instead, he got a job at a local mining operation working for wages. That was... That was a gold mining kid. Was his name Parker Schnabel?
I know, Parker's quite incredible, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. That's what it sounds like, because Parker was a gold miner ever since he was 2. So
Well, his grandpa. If you don't know who he is, then you should watch, what's the show?
Gold Rush.
That's right. So, if you don't know who he is, you should watch Gold Rush, because this is an incredible, incredible young man. And he has a lot of weight on his shoulders. And it's amazing to watch him. He's incredible. That's all I can say about him. He's incredible.
His grandfather, though, John Schnabel, his voice was hypnotic. He when he spoke, he sang. It sounded like he was singing when he talked, and he was the nicest guy. The nicest guy.
Yeah.
And it was heartbreaking when he passed away. That was horrible. I was absolutely devastated for like a couple weeks. But yeah.
Well, didn't he leave everything to Parker?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he did. Because Parker was just so is so into what he's doing, and he loves what he's doing. But I have seen that kid stress, and then come out just like, okay, I'm going to do this. And because he has hope, he knows there's always hope. So.
Well, some people only work well under pressure, and he's one of them. When things are going good, he kind of coasts until everything is just going to hell in a handbasket, and then all of a sudden he's like, okay, I'm back. So, okay, so Ed would spend much. Yeah, definitely give it a watch. It's worth it. It's a lot of drama, but that's that's the price you pay when you watch reality TV.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so
it's real. It's not fake.
Ed would spend much of the first half of his life working for wages and building up his grub stake so that he could get back to prospecting. Because prospecting was not an inexpensive hobby, one needed a good mule or two, pack saddle and saddle, various picks and shovels, chemicals, mercury and cyanide among others, to assay the ore with, blankets and camping supplies, and, of course, a good assortment of shooting irons, a rifle, certainly, a shotgun, maybe, and, of course, a good sidearm, not to mention food. Ed learned early on that it was well not to underestimate his needs. At least once, and probably many times, he was forced to abandon a potential promising claim because his supplies ran out and he had to slink back to town and take yet another job for wages. Been there, done that. Wow, that sucks too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Finally, in 1869, Ed decided he'd laid around and played around Southern Oregon too long. He was 22 now, he was getting to be an old man. And his parents couldn't hold him back. So, having worked up a small grub stake, he hit the trail. Over the next 5 years or so, he basically bummed around all over the West, eagerly chasing rumors of rich gold strikes hither and thither, dipping with his pan and chipping with his hammer. Wow, somebody decided to get all flowery. Nice. Whenever the opportunity arose, burning through grub stakes, taking jobs to build them back up, and repeating, always broke, never hitting anything worth settling down for. Disaster nearly overwhelmed him several times, including on one awful prospecting trip in the Grand Canyon, in which 2 members of his party drowned. Ed was young and a lifelong teetotaler. Oh, he was a teetotaler, so he wasn't a normal miner. but a diet of flour biscuits
Was
and,
it teetotaler?
yeah, it says Ed was young and a lifelong teetotaler. Well, that would, you know what,
Okay,
if you
so
don't
back
drink,
during that day,
that's the only
oh,
way
back,
you'd be able to hang around with minors is pretending to drink. So,
okay, I was gonna say, because back during that time it had two different it had a different meaning than what it does now. Teetotaler is me. I drink tea. Back during those days, teetotaler meant that you were lightweight.
well, no, a teetotaler back in the day was somebody that would drink things that were a look-alike for alcohol, or they would pretend to drink alcohol, pretend to get drunk, so that other people would think that they were drinking as well. It was
Yeah.
usually a method
Yeah,
to
okay.
control business dealings. So, anyway,
Okay.
but a diet of flour, biscuits, and cold water will grind anyone down eventually, and Ed's health finally got around to collapsing around the time of his 28th birthday. He'd sold his mule to buy biscuit fixins by now, and was packing his bedroll and tools around on his own back. Somehow he managed to get home to Oregon to convalesce. He probably had to sell the rest of his things to do it. It was a long convalescence. Whether he was suffering from whatever he was suffering from involved a fever and was very persistent. But perhaps it was the exhaustion, more than any virus, that was responsible for Ed's prostration. In any case, he stayed with his folks for several months, and during that time, he did some serious soul searching. He decided that the reason his life had been such a colossal flop so far was he'd spent it chasing other people's smoke, rushing to Surprise Valley on the rumor of a gold strike, getting talked into joining a party prospecting on the Snake, listening to advice from confident talkers. I think they meant confidence talkers. What he needed to do, he determined, was to hold tight, keep his own counsel, and trust himself. He'd been prospecting now for more than half of his life. He knew more about geology and mineral formation than most 1880 geologists. He would, from now on, have faith in himself and his instincts. Amen, brother. Preach it. That is one of the hardest lessons that prospectors have to learn, is to stop listening to other people when they've actually sat down and learned this stuff. Then they know just as much as everybody else. At that point, get what you know is comfortable and find your own way, because if you listen to other people, you're going to be following them around and trying to pick up their crumbs. Don't do that. When he was strong again, Ed borrowed $100 from his dad and went back out on the trail again. When that was gone, he took a job, worked for 14 more months, and went back at it again. That was in January 1877. Within 6 months, he had found the silver strike that would make him rich and famous. It happened in Arizona, deep in Apache country. Ed was staying at the Army's camp, Huachuca, yeah.
Huachuca? Yeah.
With a garrison of soldiers, tagging along with them when they went out patrolling for Indian war parties and prospecting along the way. That was smart. But he found this so slow and tedious that he soon started striking out on his own. Yeah, I could see that happening too. He's like, come on guys, let's get to the next creek. And they're like, that's not what we're here for. The soldiers warned him darkly that he was running a great risk by doing that. Oh, I'll be all right, he said, and I really think I'll find something out there. All you'll find is your tombstone, one of them told him one day in answer to that remark. And the comment must have stuck in his mind, because when Ed Schieffelin found the great subterranean ledge of silver that would make him rich and famous, he named his claim the Tombstone.
Really?
Yep. So, that's where that came from. Ed never had money. What's that?
Go ahead. Well, I just wanted to add in, because we're talking about you were talking about Huachuca. It's actually called Fort Huachuca, and
Yep.
it is actually a National Guard base. That's what you turned it into.
I had just never seen it written this way. It doesn't look like it's spelled right.
My dad was stationed in Fort Huachuca for a while. It's in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, that would make sense. Okay, so
Yeah.
Ed never had money trouble again after that, of course. He and his brothers sold their claims for $600,000, and in 1882 they traveled to Portland and commissioned a sternwheel steamer, which they shipped to Alaska and used for prospecting on the Yukon. They found nothing, so they returned. In 1883, Ed married Mary E. Brown and settled down with her in a comfortable home in Alameda, or tried to. He no longer needed to prospect, but he seemed unable to stop. Soon he was making short excursions into nearby areas looking for another strike. Yeah, once a prospector, always a prospector.
I was going to say, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop.
You're always looking at the ground and picking up rocks. It's just, you can't help it.
Well, you get out there and you see something, you go, wow, where did that start from? And what is, oh, look here, I have a nugget. It's only this big. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's go find another one.
Yep. One leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to your 80, leads to your 100. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's both men and women.
Yeah, that's true. There are quite a few women prospectors out there, and some of those women prospectors out there are badass miners, big time, literally, and make a lot of the guy miners look like a bunch of friggin' pussies. So, seriously. Okay, then in the mid-1890s, he went on a longer trip back into the wilds of Jackson and Douglas counties in Oregon. His goal was to find some of the prospecting spots he'd tried and given up in his youth. Now that he was older and more knowledgeable, he was pretty sure some of them were the real thing. And that was what he was doing there in a friend's cabin near the confluence of Days Creek and Moore Creek in the spring of 1897, when he met his death at the age of 49.
Oh my goodness, he was still young.
Yep. The legend started almost the instant Ed's body was discovered. The first of these has become known today as the Lost Red Blanket Mine. Ed was known to have had two good wool blankets, a blue one and a red one. The friends who found his body wrapped it in the blue one for burial, but of the red one there was no sign. Ed was known to have frequently made overnight camping trips up various creeks and washes in search of possible deposits. The conclusion drawn from the absence of the red blanket was that he'd gone on one of these trips and made a camp, then for some reason left it behind and made a beeline for the cabin, where he on the instant started assaying his ore samples. The ore samples he was working on when he died had gold in them. Accounts of how much range from $7 per ton, that's what his widow said in a letter to the owner of the cabin, to a rumored $2,000 per ton.
Wow.
The $2,000 figure is surely a wild exaggeration, but Ed's brothers dropped everything to race to the scene and join the search. and it's highly unlikely that they would have done this if the ore had assayed out to only $7 a ton. There also was, you dropped.
I fell down.
You fell down. Our fancy split screen here. Thank you, Facebook, so much for taking that away from us. That helps so much. Yeah, well, you got tape over your eye.
Do I? Okay, so I can't see nothing.
Uh-oh, but you're all quiet now.
Am I?
Did I turn you down?
It's a rare moment. Enjoy it. So I don't know who's on tonight, but I'm glad to see everyone.
I don't see anybody on, but I only saw like 2 people on last night, and we had almost 50 viewers, so hope you guys are doing good tonight. Don't worry, I'm almost to the end of this. Just trying to keep Tan from falling on the ground.
Should have been around, let's say a couple days ago when I fell between the 2 cars.
Wow, you are just so quiet now. I gotta figure this out. Try talking.
Okay, so I heard
There we
that that World Market had Clearly Canadian, and I went, I'm there, and so Keen and I ran to World Market, which is in Kaiser, it's a little ways away from here, and picked up $30 worth of Clearly Canadian. Before I went into the store, though, I lost my footing and fell between 2 cars on my butt.
Oh no!
I was so sore. And the funny part was watching Kian trying to pick me up. Now, mind you guys, I'm 5'8". I probably weigh about 85 pounds. So.
Okay, hopefully.
He's 6 foot. He's 6'2", so and he weighs a little more than I do, but he did.
Yep.
Wow, I am getting all kinds. You're still black. How come you're black?
It must turn the camera around. There you go. Okay, so we're back on it.
White. Okay, so let's get to the end of it.
Okay. There also was, according to the story, a diary that Ed kept, in which the last entry read, "Struck her rich again, by God," or maybe it read, "Found at last, richer than Tombstone," or "A prospect at last," or maybe Ed didn't keep a diary and wrote absolutely nothing at all.
Okay.
Wow, that's the full spectrum of the rainbow. All of these variations.
I think they were trying to backtrack. They didn't want anybody knowing.
Well, see, that's where prospecting is a lot like fishing. Is you're never going to get the actual true facts of the situation. It's always going to be, didn't find anything, found a nugget the size of a Volkswagen. It's always going to be ridiculous one way or the other. Okay, in any case, so far as is known, no one has ever found either Ed's red blanket or Ed's last lost richer than Tombstone mine. People are still looking for it today, most of them in a sort of desultory recreational fashion, but some of them in real earnest. The other Ed's lost gold mine story that sometimes circulated comes to us courtesy of legendary Oregon raconteur. Okay. and sort of historian Stuart Holbrook. In Holbrook's version, Ed mailed a letter 2 weeks before his death that included the line, "I have found stuff here in Oregon that will make Tombstone look like salt. This is gold,"
Oh, wow.
and left a treasure map in the cabin. The map was passed to one of Ed's nephews, who, mortally wounded at Verdun during the First World War, gave the map to a friend on his deathbed. "I know this man and have seen this paper," Holbrook wrote in an article for the June 1944 issue of the American Mercury. "The writing on the map is beyond doubt that of old Ed Schieffelin. 2 places on the map are marked here. The problem presented by the map is to known certain distances that are outlined. These are in cipher of Schieffelin's own making." So he had a code. So there's that story.
Don't mine have a code?
Yeah, they do. But
Okay.
there's some of us out there that would rather people get off their lazy butts and go get the gold out of the ground than keep it a secret.
Well, yeah, and I understand that, but, it's like the Lost Dutchman. He left a lot of clues, but nothing that's really going to get anybody where they need to go.
Well, they actually think that they found the Dutchman. That's
Really?
Yeah, that's something that's been a lot of conjecture to, but they think that they found the Dutchman, and they found it a while ago. They just didn't recognize it as being the Lost Dutchman. So
Yeah, I watched that one show that was on about the Lost Dutchman and the people that were looking for it, and it was really interesting because there were a lot of things that, they were going through a lot of caves and areas that were pretty scary.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
the Superstition Mountains are nothing to be messed with. They're very appropriately named.
Yeah, in Arizona, it's a beautiful, beautiful mountain. It really is, especially when they're having the storms, and the lightning coming off of it is just incredible. That and Black Mountain is it's just incredible. It's incredible. So.
Yep.
Okay, well, it is now 7 o'clock.
Okay, well, I've only got 3 more paragraphs of this, so we're going to bust through this real fast. Okay, so there's that story, of course. The idea that a fellow as laser-focused on prospecting as Ed Schieffelin would take time off from the diggings to invent his very own personal secret code may be a little hard for most folks to swallow. I have a hard time swallowing that. As with all lost gold mine stories, what we basically have is an ore sample with a ratio of about 2 ounces of truth per ton of drama. But would we really want it any other way? No, we wouldn't. We want it. We want it just that way so that it's always there, kicking us in the butt to get a move on to go find a new prospecting spot. So that was the story of Ed Schieffelin. No, they didn't.
Never find it? No, they never found it.
They never found it. In fact, that would be a fun, when we go down there to Southern Oregon, we're going to have to swing in by there where they found his body and just not do a serious investigation, but pay respects and just kind of poke around and make a day of it. Have fun.
So,
alrighty.
Take our trimeter with us. Do some ghost hunting.
Yeah, no doubt. Wow, in fact, that would be really cool because that's I've got so much family history down there. I think that would just be phenomenal. But yeah, that would definitely
Might
be
be
cool.
for
Show up in Jacksonville.
Yeah, Daryl will be in for it too.
Yeah. Alrighty, let's go ahead and
Yeah,
wrap her up.
he's been asking. That's what?
Let's go ahead and wrap it up.
Okay, you guys, I don't know who's on, but, if you guys are here, thank you for watching. We love you. And you guys take care of each other. And keep tissues. No, I don't have the flu. I'm just have a runny nose. But anyway, I love you guys. Take care. Bye.
Alrighty, guys, as always, we love each and every one of you. You guys make sure to take care of yourselves and each other. And as always, we're out of here until next Saturday, 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. Hope to see you there. You guys really be safe, be healthy, be aware of your surroundings. And for God's sake, don't find yourself in the middle of a group. Wash your hands. Wash those little petri dishes you call children down with Purell. Love you guys.
Purell, it doesn't do anything.
Peace.
Bye.